Alright guys, so let's talk about piracy today, because in the last couple days I've seen a few videos on this topic. As you may have seen, I've seen this video which was AI generated, so I didn't watch it, but the topic itself is pretty interesting. Because yes, piracy is kind of coming back, but in my opinion it wasn't really gone. But first of all, let's talk about my history with piracy, because this after all is a commentary video, so it's also kind of about like my experience and shit. Now I was born 2004, and as I said, when I grew up I had like a mix of old tech and new tech. So yes, I did own a Nokia and played Snake, but I also had a laptop and watched YouTube in like middle school. And so I was pretty much like raised into the golden age of the internet, you could say. Like in 2016 I was a teenager, and damn, that was a legendary time. You remember this song? Just legendary time. 2016 was lit, dude. But yeah, when I was younger, my parents, we didn't really have much money. And so I remember when I was like 13 or something, I got GTA 5 and Fallout 4 in a bundle on Steam for like 30 euros. And that was one of the very few times that I actually bought a game on PC. Because until I was like 16 and was able to earn my own money, like I cracked the hell out of everything, dude. Because I just hadn't, I didn't have the funds, right? I didn't really have a possibility to buy the stuff. But yeah, in the last couple years, I grew up and I earned my own money. And most things that I used to pirate just became way more efficient to just buy or subscribe to. Like I listen to music a lot. In fact, I'm listening to music on Spotify right now when I'm recording this voiceover. Like I listen a lot to Spotify. And it would be such a hassle. Like it would take so much time away from me if I were to like use LimeWire like back in the days and download every single song that I want to listen to and then put that on an iPod. That would suck so much, dude. Like nowadays, you can just go through a random playlist Spotify made for you, and you can press 2 buttons and it's in your playlist. Like you can very easily expand your playlist, and that's what I love about Spotify. Now, do you remember these anti-piracy ads from back in the days? Like you wouldn't download a car? Well, I got bad news for the people that made these ads, because, well, we live in a time of 3D models, right? And there's paid 3D models, so people absolutely do download cars, cracked cars in fact. Like I'm sure there's a market for this, right? Because there is probably paid car models online, like 3D models for animating and shit. And there's probably cracks of these car models, so ironically, well yeah, people actually do download a car illegally. Yeah, that kinda aged like milk. But let's come back to the overall idea of piracy, right? Gabe Newell, the founder of Steam, once said, "We think there is a fundamental misconception about piracy. Piracy is almost always a service problem and not a pricing problem." And I kind of agree here, but not completely. Because while sure, there is cases where people would pay a pretty large sum just to have something more accessible to them, I think nowadays people are also kind of pissed off of how expensive everything's getting. So, for example, if you argue with this, then people would have no problem at all just paying 5 different streaming services to get their movies and series. But people do have a problem with that. And I don't think it's only because it's kind of inconvenient, but it's also because it's really expensive. So if there was a service in 2025 that would allow you to stream every movie out there and every series out there, I think people would be willing to pay like 30 to 40 bucks a month for that. That's my guess, right? Probably not everyone, but I think most people would be willing to pay that for a platform that does it all. But that's not the case. And if you want to have every platform, you actually pay way more than that every month, which people are just getting annoyed of. Because back in the days when streaming became a thing, you had like 2 subscriptions, one for movies and series and one for music, and that was it. But then the movie industry discovered that they could just make their own streaming services, like Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime of course, Netflix, I don't know what else is there, WoW. Like there's a lot of these, and it's so annoying because you want to see one specific movie or series and it's just not on a platform that you own, and you're not willing to pay 20 bucks even for just 1 month of this one streaming service just to watch one single series. That's like, at this point you can just buy the DVDs again. And so yeah, piracy kind of went away because we got these simple solutions, right? Like you have one subscription for music and one subscription for movies and TV, so you just pay that and never have to struggle with piracy again. That's easy as fuck, yeah, sure. And that's a good service for a good price. And that's also important, I think, because yeah, a good service is a very good setup, but if the price is not right, I don't know. I think your service could be the best in the world. If the price is not right, you're gonna have a struggle with selling it to people, to most people. So piracy kind of went away because because it got simpler and way easier to just access everything you want to access for a pretty affordable price. So why is piracy coming back now? Well, as you may have noticed, because the streaming services are becoming more by the day. So if you want to have a full catalog of everything you can watch, you have to pay like a shit ton of money every month just for subscriptions. And people are not really happy about that. And so again, I think it's not only a service problem, but also a pricing problem. Because imagine if you want to have everything, let's just say you have to pay $200 a month, which is insane. I don't know if that's accurate, but let's say like 150, right? For all the TV and movie subscriptions out there. Now, people don't want to pay that because that's a lot of money. And I think if there was one service that had everything in itself and it cost the same, I don't really think that would make things much better. Like now you don't have 10 services that cost you $200 a month. You now have one service that also costs you $200 a month. I don't know, I think people would still be pissed off about that because that's a shit ton of money. And so I think a mix of these two things, right? Price and the service itself, that's the combination that makes people go back to piracy because it's not really convenient anymore and it's extremely expensive and it's not looking like we're going back to the good old days where you only had Netflix and you could watch everything you wanted. I don't think that's gonna come back. And another example for this price thing is Adobe. So I make YouTube videos, right? And I use Adobe products and I've used them for years at this point. Now I also use FL Studio for most like audio stuff. Like right now I'm recording this voiceover with 2 microphones into FL Studio, but mostly I use it for music. Normally for voiceovers and editing I use Premiere Pro. Sometimes a bit of After Effects, Photoshop for every single thumbnail. I use Photoshop every day. I use Lightroom when I do photography, and very rarely I use Illustrator to make like scalable banners and graphics for emails. So I've fully covered myself with Adobe products, which it kind of sucks because I'm really dependent on Adobe, but it's also just very good products. But here's the deal, right? I think Adobe has some of the best products out there for the use cases, like Premiere Pro or Photoshop. Nothing can replace Photoshop in my opinion. Like, fuck GIMP, dude. GIMP is like, it's like paint compared to Photoshop. This Affinity Photo just isn't right for me. Like, you get so used to the way that Adobe products handle and control and all the little tweaks and stuff, and there's no product that's doing it the same way, right? Because that would be a blatant copy and would probably get taken down, I guess. So I'm kind of forced to stay with Adobe. Obviously, back in the day, I used to pirate Adobe, but in the last couple of years, I've always had a subscription. But all the years that I've had a subscription, I only paid 33 euros roundabout a month, which is a lot of money already. But it's still a pretty good price if you look at what you're getting, I think. So I was not really complaining there, right? It's good products. I'm really dependent on them. And the normal price is like, I think 70 to 80 euros. So there was a discount that lasts for a year. So I could get 12 months for every month, you know, 50% off pretty much. So I did that for the last couple of years. And now it came time to renew that subscription. So I was about to renew my subscription for another year. And I took a look at the smaller text in between, right? And I saw that it's not 50% off for the next 12 months, and then after 12 months you can decide if you want to renew it or not. It was 50% off for 3 months, and then you get back to the 77 euros and a few cents for the rest of the 12-month period. So they just changed it up. And I'm very, very mad at this because 80 bucks a month is a lot of money. Like, on the other hand, sure, it's the best products for me out there, right? But that's why I mentioned FL Studio earlier, because FL Studio is a one-time payment. They also have a subscription model, but not for the software itself, but for like extra stuff like AI mastering, which is cloud-based. So it's, you know, it makes sense that that's a subscription-based model. And like a sample library you can access. But the product itself, FL Studio, the software, is a one-time purchase. And I cracked this for years too, right? Like I started using FL when I was like 13, 14. And so I bought it at like, I think 18, 19 roundabout. And I bought the like second best option, I think the producer anniversary edition, something like that, which I think was like 300 to 400 euros, which is a lot of money, but it's definitely worth that because I never have to struggle again with subscriptions. I always have my software. It's a fucking good software. I love FL Studio. I get lifetime free upgrades, and honestly, for a software on that level, 350 bucks or whatever it was for a one-time purchase that lasts for a lifetime is like mind-blowingly good. But that's not even half a year of of Adobe subscription. And Adobe products are really good, but I don't think the price is like, it doesn't fit that, because FL Studio also is like in its own niche. It's at the same level as the Adobe products, I would say, maybe even a bit higher, because I don't really think Adobe products get used that much in really professional settings, but I'm not sure about that. However, there's like really big producers out there using FL, but whatever. And so if I compare these two examples, it just doesn't really match up. And so of course I would never again pirate anything, blah blah blah. It's illegal where I live, so obviously I would never pirate anything, right? If the police is watching, I'm not pirating anything here. But I'm just saying, right? If we put an imaginary person in the same scenario that I'm in right now, my bet is that he's gonna let the subscription, you know, run out, not gonna renew it, and just crack the products again. Cause you don't have to worry about $80 a month, and it works almost just as good. You don't get the generative AI, which is kind of a bummer. And also you don't get the subtitles in Premiere Pro, which also sucks. But dude, that's so much money. If it was 30 euros a month, I would just renew it, right? Well, even then I'm not even that sure, but I don't know. Just in general, I hate the idea of subscription services, because subscription services is always, like, I cannot really think of anything where it really makes sense. Well, this FL Studio mastering stuff, that kind of makes sense, because it's like cloud-based, so they have rolling costs, right? So that makes sense. But, well, Spotify and Netflix too, yeah, that also makes sense. But we're at the point where, like, you have to pay a subscription to enter your car's seat heaters. Probably heard about that. There's like cars, you have to pay a subscription to heat your fucking seats and shit, and just access things that are in the car but are not activated because you're not paying for it. Jesus Christ, you paid for the whole car. By the way, just saying, that's not normal. We should not normalize any of this behavior from the big companies, but hey, that's just my opinion, right? Well, anyways, dude, I'm always scared that I'm not gonna get the video over like 3 minutes. Not because I want to push the videos longer. That kind of sucks because it's a lot more editing then. But I don't really want to put out long form videos that are like the length of a short. That kind of sucks. But yeah, the raw recording right now is 25 minutes, so I think we're good here. This should be a pretty good ramble session I can cut together. So yeah, that was my opinion on piracy and kind of a little explanation, if you can call it that. Definitely tell me your opinion in the comments down below. Leave a like on the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss the next videos, and I'll see you next time. Bye.